The last topic in work is something called power, and I'll be honest, it's sort of a deprecated topic. I don't give it a lot of attention because I think it's not that hard. But they do like you to know it, and it can be useful from time to time, and in the real world, the power output of something is pretty important. So we'll go over it quickly. Consider two identical twins on the ground floor of the Empire State Building. They each mass 55 kilograms. Alice runs up 86 flights, reaching a height of 381 meters in 20 minutes. In so doing, her muscles must do work on her equal to, well, basically equal to the work done by gravity. Because if she starts and ends at rest, her total work, which is delta K, is 0. So she starts in the ground. Here's the Empire State Building. And she starts down here at rest, and then she runs up to here at rest, hopefully upstairs. Then the total work is the change in kinetic energy, which, as I said, is 0. She starts and ends at rest. But the total work must be the work that Alice does plus the work that gravity does. And the work done by gravity, well, it's mgh, but she's not descending, she's rising, so gravity does negative work. So we end up seeing that the work done by Alice is mgh, right? Notice there was a chain in there. It wasn't automatically. It was because she starts and ends at rest. We work it out, and we get something along the lines of 210 kilojoules. Her twin Charlene does size to join her, but Charlene dawdles a bit, so she takes 3 hours to get there instead of 20 minutes. The work done by her muscles is also mgh. Because exactly the same reasoning would occur. Her total work is delta K, but she starts and ends at rest, so her work would be mgh. So she gets exactly the same 210 kilojoules of work that she has to do. That's a little bizarre. Work doesn't care how much time the force takes to do the work, only how much distance is covered. Of course, we do care, right? We think it's different. If you asked Alice and Charlene, they had entirely different experiences, and this is what we're going to talk about now. Time information is captured in something called power. Power is defined as the rate at which work is done. Rates are always basically something over delta t or something over dt. So the rate at which the work is done is called the power. Its SI unit is called the watt, symbolized by capital W, named after James Watt, who invented the first practical steam engine, although not the first steam engine. From our definitions, 1 watt is a joule per second, which is a Newton meter per second, which is 1 kilogram times meters per second squared. 1 kilogram meter squared per second cubed. Sorry about that. Cubed. All right. Notice that we have an unfortunate typological collision because the work done W, right, is measured in watt seconds. This is actually wrong. Let's fix that. Let's say per unit time. That we use W both for the work and for the units of power. In print, it's pretty easy because the variable is italicized, but the unit is not. You can see that. But in handwriting, you have to be careful, and then you have to basically work from context. Usually it's not that hard, but you have to be careful about it. It gets worse. That's not the worst collision of symbols that we have in physics. How do you run into this? Well, light bulbs are often rated in watts, a 60-watt bulb or a 100-watt bulb, because historically incandescent bulbs were all manufactured in essentially one standard way. Eventually, when the Edison process won out, being the most efficient process, people basically measured to that and became a standard. But watts is not a measure of light output, but power consumption. Modern LED bulbs, for instance, are as bright as traditional bulbs, but consume only about 1/10 the energy. They should be rated in lumens, because that's the SI unit of illuminance, but bulbs are often rated in watt equivalents. So if you take a 60-watt equivalent bulb for an LED bulb, it might consume only 5 or 6 watts. And it's a little weird because people are used to saying, I want a 60-watt bulb for like my reading lamp or a 100-watt bulb for my kitchen. And for 100 years, that was fine because everybody made bulbs the same way. Now it falls apart, and you should really get in lumens, but nobody does, so we keep going that way. Different common unit of power is still called horsepower, abbreviated HP, and we know that we define 1 horsepower to be 746 watts. The horsepower was in fact invented by James Watt, and ironically, a typical horse cannot quite exert 1 horsepower over the same time, although in bursts they can get up to about 15. It's been alleged that James Watt deliberately undersold horses, so investors in steam engines couldn't complain if it fell short of expectations. In other words, he got a horsepower a little bit too small. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's kind of a funny story. By the way, to close the loop on our earlier problem, we can say the power exerted by each of the climbers. Alice does 210 kilojoules over 20 minutes. That turns out to be 175 watts. But Charlene does it over 180 minutes, so she consumes only 19 watts. A different way of thinking about this sometimes is that a stick of dynamite and a candy bar have roughly the same actual chemical energy in them, but of course you don't want to eat the stick of dynamite and you don't want to blow up a bridge with a candy bar. It's how fast you release it that ends up mattering, what power it can develop. Finally, if the force is constant and the velocity is constant, say you're pushing an object across a floor at constant speed, then the power can be relatively simple. The power is the change in the work over time, but the work was the force times the distance, so we get something like the force times the distance over time, or the power is FV. It turns out that if the force or velocity are allowed to vary, then you can still use this, but it's only the power at any given instant, and so you'd have to get the actual work, you'd have to integrate. You would say something like that the infinitesimal amount of work is the power times the infinitesimal time, so we would take f dot v infinitesimal time, and the total work would be the integral of this, which is a bit far afield from what they do in AP Physics C, at least at this stage. We'll come back again in April when people are more comfortable with the calculus. It does mean that we could, if we had an FV curve as a function of time, we could integrate to get its area and do it that way. This is a moderately useful aside. It's kind of worth knowing, and once or twice we'll use it to make problems easier, but it also isn't very deep.